Hello and welcome to the Ceremony Shed with me, Lindy Irving. It's May 2023 and it's an absolutely beautiful day here in Scotland. I'm sitting looking out at my wee garden and the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, you can maybe hear them. And it's just one of those days where you look around you and you're just happy to be alive. Well, that is if everything's going okay in your life, right? Because if you're going through a difficult period in your life, then it's not as easy to stop and be grateful or to feel the sun in your face, right? And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, about life and change and ceremony. Because I've been working with somebody from overseas to create a ceremony for her because she came out of a relationship broke up, maybe just a little over a year ago, and she has found the whole thing really, really difficult, and she's kind of stuck. That would be the terminology she would use. She's stuck and doesn't know how to kind of move on. And I think there are few of us who manage to get through life without experiencing that. Because here's the thing, change is constant in our lives, right? Our lives change every minute of every day. It's always changing. It's changing just now. The world around us is changing. Nature's changing. Within our bodies is changing. Everything is changing. And so change is constant. But then there are times in our lives when the change is so profound, it's so enormous, so huge, that it feels as if somebody's pressed the pause button in your life, right? And that might be that, in this case, a relationship ends and, you maybe weren't expecting it or you didn't want it or whatever it might be. It might be that you lose your job or something significant changes at your work. It might be that you're diagnosed or somebody you love is diagnosed with some life-limiting or life-changing illness. Or it might be that you lose somebody you love. And the rug is just ripped completely from under your feet. And as I say, it feels as if somebody's pressed the pause button on your life. Because here's the thing, it's just your life that gets paused, right? Because the rest of the world keeps on turning. And most people around you keep on doing what they're doing because that's just life. Change is constant. And we have to go along with that. We have to try and keep up with that. It's like that, our world turning, and we have to turn with it. But when you're undergoing these huge shifts, these huge moments, these milestone moments in your life, then it feels as if the world's stopped turning. But here's the thing, if we don't find a way of moving through this change, then what can happen is, instead of that big finger coming and pressing pause in your life, it can feel as if it's pressed stop. And you stay stuck in that moment where the rug's been taken from under your feet. And I'm sure you, just as I do, know people that that's happened to. And very often where either it has been a relationship and it's ended not of their doing, somebody's gone off, they've met somebody else, or they've decided they wanted somebody else, and this person's off living their life, having a great time. This person here is completely stuck in that moment when the relationship ended. and they relive it over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day, and they can't find a way of moving on. And of course, you get well-meaning people saying, oh, it's okay, don't worry, you'll bounce back and things will go back to the way that they were. That's not true. Nothing will ever go back to the way it was. That's not what resilience is. Resilience is not about bouncing back. Resilience is about finding a way of moving through this change that's happening in your life and coming out the other side a different person, but somebody that's much more sure-footed and somebody that is able to see hope on the horizon and is able to fit in some way into this new world. That's what resilience is about. And that's what ceremony does. Ceremony in its truest form, take away all the fluff from ceremony in its truest form. It is a vehicle to move people through this important change, this huge change in their life, and to bring them in some way out the other side. So when ceremonialists like me are crafting ceremonies for people, they're not just thinking, oh, what can I write that's going to be funny and what can I write that's, going to touch people's heartstrings. They are fundamentally thinking, how do I best move this person, this couple, this family through this period of change that's happening in their lives? And to do that, you have to take into consideration a whole range of things, so that's listening to the person that's in front of you, thinking about their lives and what's happening in their lives, the relationship they had with whatever it is they've lost, and helping them to move through. Now, sometimes that change is very happy. A new life comes into the world and you want to celebrate that, but it's still change, right? Any parents will tell you that whenever they have a child, wow, does your life change? And it changes for the best, of course, but there's also changes there that are very challenging when you've no slept for 3 days and your house seems like a petri dish because your kid gets every infection that playgroup has to offer, and you are just running about trying and sometimes feeling as if you need 10 of you just to have your wee family of 3 or whatever. So even when the change is wonderful and exciting and it's still change. And a wedding ceremony or a betrothal ceremony, when 2 people are coming together and they're betrothing their lives to each other, it's joyful and it's wonderful and it's great, but it's still change. It's 2 people having to find a way of compromising for the rest of their lives because they love each other and want to be with each other so much. So that's what ceremony does at its very purest level, is it helps people to move through change and to come out the other side feeling a bit more whole. Because and we see it all around the world and in all our communities, we can see where people are stuck, where our young people are stuck, our teenagers and our children that are no longer children but no quite adults yet, even though they think they're adults, and they often feel unvalued and no worthy, and they don't have a voice, and we don't do anything to reassure them other than parents saying, I love you and you're great, but as communities, we don't do anything like we would used to do. We would have done in the past, where we would have got together and celebrated these people coming to adulthood and letting them know how welcome they were as adults and how excited we were to see what they would bring to the community and yada yada. We don't do that anymore. So we see that huge gap where our young people are trying to find their kin, are trying to find where they belong, and that often ends up in the wrong place. It's come to, gangs or drugs or alcohol or smoking or whatever it might be. And but we see it in other parts of communities where we've lost that kind of community spirit and that that support that we had when people were going through these major changes in their life. And that's, in the past where the church was really good, because if people who were members of the church were going through these difficult moments, they lost somebody or somebody was unwell, usually the church, the elders would be at the house and they would come with flowers and food, and they would sit and they would chat, and people would feel valued and people would feel heard and people would feel that they were they mattered within the community. That's largely lost because people are moving away from the church, and the churches are no staffed the way they were before. I get that a lot when I'm doing end of life ceremonies where somebody's been a member of the church for a long time, but in the last 3 or 4 years when they've become unwell, nobody's come anywhere near them, and therefore they don't want to have a church ceremony. So there's these huge gaps missing in our communities. But on a personal level, ceremony is there for anybody who's going through any type of change, and particularly if it's change, if it's significant change, where there is this possibility that if you don't find a way of flowing along with life, then you're going to get stuck. And some people get stuck for the rest of their lives. And that doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. And you can talk to friends and family as much as you like. You can, you see it in Facebook memes all over the place. You can see evidence of where people are stuck in their lives. But it doesn't have to be that way. And as I say, ceremonialists like me are trying to offer something new, something different, something that is on the opposite side of medication and therapy, and because it's something that's within all of us. There is this deep ancestral memory of families and communities coming together in ceremony to support people and to help them through change. So that's a long way of saying that. I was trying to think of, there's a great wee book, and as I was talking to you, my brain was trying to think of the name of it. It's actually called Healing Ceremonies. It was written by a psychiatrist, maybe 2 psychiatrists, an old book. But in it he talks about how instead of using drugs to medicate people with mental health problems, he started using ceremonies, and the power of that. The book talks about the power of that. I can't remember his name, but if you put in Healing Ceremonies, great wee book. But anyway, that was a long way of saying that if you are undergoing any kind of change in your life and you are feeling a wee bit ski-whiff, a wee bit discombobulated, then there is another path to take. And it's a beautiful path. It's a path that a part of you will recognise and will remember. And it will be designed solely around you and your needs. What you're going to need to help you to move through this period in your life. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to invite 200 people. You don't have to invite anybody. It could just be you and I. It can be done via Zoom. I can help you write a ceremony, and you can do it yourself, or you could do it with your own family and friends. You bring to me what it is you're going through, and we will chat about what I could do to help you. And if you don't want to come to me, there are many other ceremonialists out there that would be, more than happy to help you. But ceremonies are not just for weddings and baby namings and funerals. Ceremonies are for everyday living. And they work. They absolutely work. And they work at a level that I don't even understand. So, if that's you and you would like to get in touch, drop me a wee note to lindy@idoceremonies.co.uk, and let's start your journey into ceremony. Okay, thanks for listening. Beautiful.